In the past, before technology became a huge part of our lives, people weren't as connected as we are today. Virtually connected. They had to wait patiently, and they don't know much about what's happening around the world, or what their friends are up to these days. TV was the closest thing to gaining information instantaneously, but that was pretty much it. People can focus on themselves, and meet people face to face more often. They had the heart to call their friends to catch up. It was a world without advanced technology and an era of face-to-face communication. That was the past.
Social media is not real life, and that has consequences. Yeah, that may sound obvious, but it's not as clear to young adults, and studies are showing that dissonance can lead to tragedy, depression, self-harm, suicide, to name just a few.
But today's world, it's way different than what it was decades ago. Now, everything is instant with the technology we have today, and the younger people are the ones most impacted with the advanced technology we have today. It basically changed everything, and the hottest technology that my generation mostly use now is a smartphone with social media platforms, where it keeps connecting us to everything. Although it's great that we're living in a technological era, and with all the devices and gadgets helping in our lives as well, there's this side of technology that is usually not addressed. And although it's great that we have a 24/7 connection all the time, but it has drastically changed everyone's behavior and the way of living by the same devices and gadgets that are helping changing our lives as well. Today's generation grew up in the social media era, where nothing is hidden from us anymore. At this point, we know that social media is addicting. It's bad and all, but that doesn't mean we still can't use it. I still use it because I didn't want to give up the connections I have with my friends, whom I still keep in touch with. And at first, it didn't seem terrible to have these things because everyone is using it. Though as time goes by, we begin to realize that there's something bothering us on the way we use them. But then again, what's the harm? Especially these days, we need it a lot more in our lives. But what we didn't realize that over time, these social media platforms are slowly turning very toxic and very addicting. Sure, it's not affecting your physical body, but it's affecting your mind, like a lot. It's not that the contents posted in social media are wrong, but it's more to how it amplifies and exaggerates certain contents into big things. All of them just amplify so much that soon enough, there's this new culture of brag in social media, and it paints this world off perfect and making us believe that this utopia exists, when in reality, it's not always like that. And behind a happy content is actually and likely a sad user. So with that said, if people always look happy online, then why are there news about young people quitting social media and their mental health declining? Are they all just lying? So let's investigate on this together, and we're going to uncover the truth from the beginning.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is. We're very excited about this.
On June 29th, 2007, Steve Jobs created the iPhone that changed our lives forever. But the one thing that changed everything thanks to the smartphones is communication. The phone has granted us instant communication where we can get messages in a snap. And the biggest game changer to the world is social media, the platform where you can stay connected with everyone 24/7, personally and professionally. You can see what everyone are up to today. And in turn of using the social media app, it gives you a reward of what we know as the notifications. People are encouraged in the end to share their daily activities, posts, stories, likes, comments, you name it. And in addition to that, the feed's algorithm knows what kind of posts or contents you liked so that you'll keep staying on that platform. And these things are the ones that keep you hooked to social media, a brand new addiction that particularly my generation is facing. That notification of people liking your post, commenting, and even sending DMs to you gives you a surge of dopamine in your head, the chemical that our brain releases that make you feel good when you are doing something you enjoy very much. In the past, the most common addiction we always hear that we must avoid were smoking, alcohol, and gambling. They're still here, but now there's a whole new addiction that my generation has to face, and it's a whole lot more complicated. Social media, the silent killers of my generation, and the very thing that everyone uses today for personal and business uses. Perhaps you think this is absurd, that's not possible because everyone is using them now. So what's the harm? Well, this is why it's called a silent killer. Let's take the most popular social media, Instagram, as an example. In 2020, there's an estimation of about more than 1 billion users on Instagram. 995 photos are uploaded on Instagram every second. 50 billions are posted so far, and 500 million people use Instagram stories daily. As for the demographics, most of the people who use Instagram are at the age of 25 to 34 years old. The second comes 18 to 24 years old. And the average time they spend per day there is at least 30 minutes long. As you can see here, young people spend a lot of time on this platform, and we have not counted the other apps or platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, and other platforms that we use to connect with each other on the internet. And the most who use social media a lot are Gen Zs and millennials. Just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with social media. In fact, it's the best place to want to stay connected with everyone all over the world. The only problem is when you get attached to the contents posted there, appearing in your feed. And in most cases, it gives you unwanted feelings that could lead to depression. Now, after I showed you the data of how many people stayed on Instagram, imagine when it's combined with other social media, and the big bubble arising as people view contents after contents there. At first glance, this whole social media thing doesn't look like it can hurt. It's not a drug like alcohol or a cigarette that can harm one's physical body, and everyone is using it. In addition, the contents are mostly filled with positivity, motivational words, friends' posts in their vacation, work, always smiling, you name it. There's nothing much negative there, thus showing us a positive world. That's why we all assume that this is just a platform to keep anyone up to date and positive. So it's common for nearly all of us to have more than 3 or 4 platforms. Again, nothing wrong. It's keeping us informed, entertained, and connected 24/7. Or at least, a little too connected. In my last video about the toxic world of self-comparison, I discussed about how social media is making us compare ourselves to others because according to Jordan Peterson, a psychologist professor, he found that our minds like to criticize ourselves and it'll find ways to belittle us no matter the subjects, be it about beauty, life, work, anything. And since social media tends to be the world of perfect, our minds will find ways to go, why can't your life be like them? And by having these things in your thoughts, you'll only grow a feeling of bitterness and jealousy, which are something we do not want to go to. But the world of social media is like a bait to those. As more contents are posted there, where most of them are thought to be lighting up everyone's world, there's a bubble ready to burst as more positive contents are forced on your feeds as the algorithm studies what contents you liked there, and as you viewed them, it slowly makes you feel bad for not having the perfect life the way it was shown on social media. Or you're not trying harder in your life as most of the fake gurus and financial influencers tend to say. You begin to indirectly compare your life to that user when viewing your social media. This bubble is the catalyst of toxic positivity in social media. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's contents are bad and that you should all stop posting. The problem is that users have been constantly posting things that are either over-exaggerating or to cover up the real truth to just show a nicer side of themselves. In nearly all across the contents of social media, it's always high-quality pictures and mostly fake lives shared all the time right at your faces. Everyone's acting like some celebrities and just curating them to show that this is the real you. It's a true facade to reality and the hiding of honesty. At the end of the day, you're only sharing the best part of yourself online and edit out the bad part so that you can look great in the public's eyes. Hence, it's for the notification of likes and comments. Like, you really have to bring out the best version of yourself there and filter out the bad ones. But in reality, most of the nature of these pictures is to show off, to brag, to earn likes for attention. Sadly, this is the society that we grew up now. We're showing off luxurious things, being some kind of a beauty pageant wannabe with descriptions that has nothing to do with the picture is the new trend of this generation. All for the sake of likes, comments, and followers. And most of all, attention. This is where the light is so bright that you are blinded from the real truth. At this point, I think you might go, "Oh, Nicole, you're being paranoid about these things. There's no harm in posting good stuff." Well, if you put it that way, yes, they're not physically degrading you. But if social media is all positive, why are there news about young people quitting social media for good? There has been a lot of those news as of late, especially during the pandemic. The smiling faces on social media countered the true faces of the users. There's a documentary called Fake Famous on HBO Max, where it exposed the real truth about influencers. Not all influencers perhaps, but the ones who faked it until they make it, like posting being on a private jet, luxurious mansions, vacations, fancy lifestyle, and all the things that most of us want. It turns out that most of them rented those things just to look great on Instagram. For example, CNBC wrote that you could rent a private jet for $50 per hour and living in a mansion a day for around $600. Pretty sure anyone could rent that and start a marketing campaign with those budgets. Most fake gurus do this. These are people who tell you that it's easy to get rich in less than a year. They rented all these Lambos, private jets, say so many positive and motivational things right at the camera looking straight at you.
Knowledge.
So that people can buy their courses that can help them be rich without much risk. Which, by the way, there are testimonials out there that tell you otherwise.
Those are the thoughts that they want you to feel, and they will prey on you for feeling that way. So go out there, do great things. Don't be a shitty person. And if you can produce a service or a product or an idea that makes you millions, hey, congratulations. But don't fucking use these psychological tactics like these people, these fake gurus, because they're not in it to improve your life one bit.
So the next time you log into your social media, you have to be really careful when you view these posts. Are they really true to themselves, or are they just doing it to flex their style and rub it right at your faces for attention? Most of the time, you're going to find them doing just that. Sadly, fake influencers and gurus and people bragging on social media are not the only ones contributing to this toxic world. It's the mainstream media as well, particularly contents like 30 Under 30. We obtain news about how people around my age, say 20-something and under 30, are earning money more than most paid employees. By God knows how they did it. Some claim to be doing it by stocks, cryptocurrency, owning their own business, but sometimes some of them seem to be not true. Not the business part, but the claim to be the young entrepreneurs. Once again, I'm not dissing the people who made it to that list or discouraging you from starting a company. They probably deserve that from their hard work. There's this article from Harvard that showed that the average age of a successful founder is 45 years old. I'll link the article below. Found this thanks to Coffeezilla. And they found that the older people in their 40s are the ones making the successful businesses, not the young. But instead, the media are indirectly pressuring a lot of us to start a business right away, or you won't be considered successful. There's this rush for younger people that if you don't go to the entrepreneurship journey and stay in your 9-to-5 job, you won't be considered successful. And as inspiring or cool as it sounds to start a business and quit your 9-to-5 job, it's kind of in a way forcing everyone to start entrepreneurship journey and not think through it carefully. And this gives so much pressure for younger people to follow the way of a false formulated success, that they must drop out of college and start a company right away the way Steve Jobs did. But what they failed to mention is that these people who dropped out and started businesses, that big breakthrough though, they were way older than the 30 under 30s. This is not usually mentioned in the mainstream media. And with that not being mentioned, this pressures younger people a lot. That's why you see kids wanting to do entrepreneurship, right? Like, how come the media doesn't cover much about Bernard Arnault, the CEO of LVMH? He didn't found Louis Vuitton. In fact, he was recruited to be a CEO of the company. Do you see how the power of social media amplifies even the false hope to the younger people? If it's pressuring for them, imagine the people who have actually tried that journey and failed. all these contents you see on social media, particularly Instagram, set you up to the world of perfect. That you shouldn't feel bad at all because everything is awesome and that everyone can be positive all the time. To the point that when you look at other people's contents, you unconsciously compare yourself to what people post on social media. You might think that maybe it's just me who thought this way, but if you read any comment sections from videos that has to do with social media, you'll find people saying that they felt insecure, anxious, or even depressed because they saw the contents of social media are always positive and you compare your life to them. Some even said that they deleted their social media for good because of that. Now with that said, it stands to reason that this bragging culture has been so amplified that it drove people away instead of attracting them. The bubble became so large that when it burst, it was so overwhelming to hold these negative feelings that you are not as good enough as they are. And that's when all the feeling that you've been holding back started to flood in. It wasn't until around early 2020 that I reached my limit with social media, that I was feeling overwhelmed of unconsciously comparing myself to others, insecure to see the contents and all the constant motivational posts that are giving me anxieties that I wasn't working hard enough. In the end, I had to take a long break from social media and allow myself to be present and feel whatever I'm supposed to feel freely, not artificial boost feelings. I was afraid to tell other people on how I felt about it, and I didn't want to feel bad and insecure because others looked like they achieved more than I did. So the pressure was really there as my mind went, why can't you be more like them? I began to slowly accept that I wasn't feeling okay and realized that the social media is a total fantasy of an always positive world. Social media is exaggerating this world of perfect to the point that there's a bragging culture that made me feel insecure and anxious. Most people only show their perfect lives and edit out the bad stuff. And that alone is enough to make us feel bad about ourselves, and we can't help but indirectly compare. Perhaps you don't see it because we always see kids are always on their smartphones, and they always look happy there. And especially during this pandemic, with everyone forced to stay at home, the number of depression is actually rising amongst young people. And even before the pandemic, the numbers are already rising. And according to Medcircle, the rate of depression is actually the highest in this century.
But when you look at history and the challenging times in history, the Great Depression, World War II, the Vietnam era, the tumultuous 60s and 70s, financial crises, the Cold War, the rates of depression were not higher than they are now.
In the end, the irony is that the very thing that is connecting us is disconnecting us.
Every average American said that they had 10 really close friends. The same poll this year said we had 2. So what happened? Where did everybody go? And I think we know where. What does this say when we are together? To me, it says that there's someone, anyone, on the other end of this screen that's way more important than you, who's right in front of my face.
Knowing this, what does this mean for us? What must we do to decrease this anxiety, social media in us? Well, first off, I don't have all the answers, especially since everyone's lives are different. But what I can say is the things that have generally helped my mental health is limit my consumptions of social media. Instagram, Facebook, you name it. Now I began doing what I mostly like to do now, which is pretty much going back to my hobbies, like watching movies, reading books, writing, just generally anything that could make me happy. I'm not chasing for likes. These are the things I did, recommended by the internet. Perhaps you want to give it a shot. It's up to you. But overall, do what makes you happy. Don't go after the likes. And if you want to share something that you did was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. That way, it'll be easier for you to limit your consumptions of social media.